Awakening of the Soul. Scroll 2, Awakening of the Soul's Eye. Verse 13, Consciousness, awareness as the root of power. Before throne or crown, before decree or law, there is consciousness. Awareness is the fountain from which all rivers of power flow. Without it, strength crumbles, wealth scatters, armies turn to dust. With it, the leader stands unmoved as mountain, radiant as sun unseen. The Codex proclaims, to see is greater than to seize. What is seized may be stolen, but what is seen endures. Awareness is shield, no sword can pierce, lamp no storm can quench, root from which authority grows, bedrock upon which crowns rest. A tale is told of two rulers. The first demanded power. He was given armies and gold. He conquered swiftly, yet fear consumed him, betrayal bloomed, and his empire became his tomb. The second ruler asked not for armies but for sight. Silence descended, and he saw rivers under deserts, foes betraying themselves, doors hidden in shadows. Without fortress or sword, his reign outlasted nations. Thus the Codex seals this law. Consciousness is the first throne, awareness the first crown. The golden leader rules first himself, then the world bends. So it is written, so it shall endure. Verse 14th, the first awakening, the school of seeing behind the veils. The first awakening is fracture, not gift. It tears veils woven since birth, veils of names, crowns, shadows. So long as the veil hangs, the initiate remains prisoner, eyes open yet blind, hearts beating yet asleep. Most men see not the world but stories of the world. They mistake painted walls for horizons, lamps for stars, chains for ornaments, illusions for truth. But the soul's eye stirs. A light pierces faint as dawn, nations bowing to shadows, selves bound in masks upon masks. A master asked his pupil, "What do you see?" The pupil named trees and rivers, stars and men. The master pressed, "And what hides behind?" The pupil grew still. He sensed rivers beneath rivers, forces behind faces, light binding all. And the veil was torn. Each veil resists appearances, fear, desire, pride. Each torn veil is death of a false self, yet birth of true sight. Once the veil falls, there is no return. The old world suffocates, the new world beckons. The first awakening is fire. He who tears the veil dies in part, yet lives more fully. And he who sees behind the veil commands the currents that shape men. So it is written, so it shall endure. Verse 15, the river and the mirror. Reflection reveals the hidden current. The soul's eye awakens as river and as mirror. The river flows eternal, bearing memory and silence, rising and falling, yet never ceasing. But hidden current is unseen until the mirror reflects. The mirror is not of glass, but stillness. When silence steadies the waters, truth appears whole, reflection unbroken. When fear stirs, the image fractures. When pride clouds, the image distorts. But silence clears the mirror, and the current is revealed beneath all things. A wanderer gazed into a mountain pool. Wind twisted his reflection monstrous. He despaired until an elder said, "Still yourself." He waited. Winds calmed, waters cleared. There he saw not only his face, but the current in all things. Thus the Codex seals this law. The river is eternal current, the mirror its revelation. He who fears the reflection remains blind. He who dares to gaze beholds the hidden law. All life is one current, and to master self is to master the river. So it is carved, so it shall endure. Consciousness is mountain and abyss. Most wander only its surface, mistaking chatter for wisdom. But beneath the noise lies the source of power. The surface mind is restless wind, opinions, arguments, distraction. The silent undercurrent is intuition, sudden knowing. Dreams whisper. The abyss of awareness is vast stillness, the soul's root, the silence from which creation resounds. A sage poured 3 cups. One he stirred, cloudy, bitter. This is surface mind. One he left shallow, clear, but fragile. This is undercurrent. One he drew from deep well at night, still, radiant with starlight. Surface deceives, depth reveals. The leader builds not on froth, but on bedrock. So it is sealed, so it shall endure. Verse 16, the parable of the lamp, the small flame that banishes vast darkness. Darkness boasts of its vastness. It whispers, "I cannot be moved." but darkness has no substance. It is shadow, absence, not being. A traveler entered a cave black as death. He groped, stumbled, feared. At last he struck flint. One spark flared, one lamp lit, and the vastness fled. The cave became not prison but passage. Thus the Codex seals this law. The flame within, though small, is greater than the shadows without. The lamp of awareness banishes night. So it is forged, no night shall reign. Verse 18th, the observer, the one who sees, is greater than what is seen, but mistaking what he sees for what he is. He says, I am body, yet the body changes. He says, I am thought, yet thoughts race and dissolve. He says, I am feeling, yet feelings rise and fall. Still the witness remains. The Codex thunders. You are not mask. You are the gaze behind the mask. You are not shadow. You are the eternal eye. A prisoner sat chained 20 years. One day he laughed. His jailer asked, what madness seizes you? He replied, you bound my body, not the one who sees the body. You caged shadow, but the witness was always free. The jailer trembled, for chains had no power over sight eternal. Thus the Codex seals this law. The one who sees is greater than what is seen. The observer cannot be enslaved. So it is inscribed, so it shall endure. Verse 6, the observing self, true self, is witness, not mask. From birth, masks oppressed, name, nation, duty, role. The Codex declares, the self is not mask but witness. Masks fall, witness remains. A man entered a hall of mirrors. He bowed to king, cursed fool, worshipped warrior. And he saw, the witness had been there always. Thus the Codex seals this law. He who clings to masks is slave. He who remembers the witness is sovereign. So it is bound, so it shall endure. Ego is mask, role is garment. But leadership is not role. Leadership is resonance. A parable, an emperor demanded, bow to my crown. A sage replied, crowns fall, robes burn. Show me yourself stripped of both. Then I will bow. The emperor trembled, for the sage spoke eternal law. Thus the Codex seals this law. Roles fade, essence endures, so it is carved, so it shall endure. Verse, the silence behind thoughts, the mind's noise veils eternal presence. The mind is wind upon water. It distorts, breaks, deceives. But when silence steadies, the reflection reveals truth. A sage shook a vessel of water. This is your mind. Then set it down. The ripples stilled. The moon appeared perfect. The silence did not create the moon. It revealed what was always there. Thus the Codex seals this law. Thought is tool, silence is throne. He who enters silence drinks eternity. So it is etched, so it shall endure. Awareness is not escape but burden. The blind pass by guiltless. But he who sees is accountable for what he sees. 2 men passed a village in famine. Thus the Codex seals this law. So it is decreed, so it shall endure. Verse 23rd, inner alchemy, fear transmuted into clarity. Fear whispers, you will fall, you will die, most flee or bow. But fear is not enemy, it is awe waiting for fire. A warrior trembled before battle. An elder said, do not curse fear. Place it in the furnace. Let it burn. It will become fire in your blood, clarity in your mind, endurance in your limbs. The warrior prevailed. Fear has 3 faces: warning, illusion, doorway. The coward flees. The fool denies. The golden leader endures and passes through. Thus the Codex seals this law. Fear is furnace, strength is gold. He who flees remains slave. He who endures becomes sovereign. So it is forged, so it shall endure. Path of presence, presence carries more. The world believes command is voice, but true command is presence. Presence bends without force, steadies without speech. Thus the Codex seals this law. Presence is thrown behind every throne. Crowns fade, armies scatter, but presence endures. So it is written, so it shall endure. Verse XXV, the pineal gland, the hidden eye awakens perception. Within flesh lies hidden eye. Altar of vision, bridge between earth and eternity. A disciple asked, why one eye when we have 2? The master said, 2 see form, 1 sees essence. 2 divide, 1 unites. The hidden eye reveals patterns, unveils truth, burns away illusion. He who opens it walks with double vision, seeing world as it appears and world as it is. Thus the Codex seals this law. The hidden eye is crown of perception. He who awakens it cannot be deceived. So it is sworn. So it shall endure. Verse existence, how the mind is programmed from birth, early chains must be broken. Infant sees with soul's eye open, but world cannot endure such purity. Chains are forged, words, fears, roles. A bird born in cage forgot the sky. When the cords were cut, it did not fly. So it is with men bound by early chains. Thus the Codex seals this law. To awaken is to unlearn. He who dares to break chains becomes sovereign. So it is carved. So it shall endure. Verse 60, the seal of inner vision, sight that sees truth beyond illusion. Two men gazed upon a desert. One saw sand and despaired. The other saw rivers beneath, dug, and generations drank. Thus the Codex seals this law. The eye bound to truth cannot be broken. It sees shadows as shadows, crowns as dust, essence as eternal. So it is sealed. So it shall endure. Thus Scroll 2 is sealed. You have walked the temple of awakening. You have torn veils, stilled mirrors, descended to depth, lit the lamp, unmasked the false. The Codex warns, to see is not enough. To betray vision is to murder your own flame. The inner tyrant whispers weakness, delay, fear. Conquer it with silence, with presence, with endurance. Engrave this into your marrow. I see myself first. My silence is my fortress. My presence is my crown. My fear is my forge. My vision is my flame. I am unshaken. So it is carved in fire. So it shall endure beyond time. The closing of Scroll 2, the trial of sight. You have crossed the threshold of the soul's eye. You have torn veils and seen currents moving beneath the surface of things. You have gazed into rivers, mirrors, lamps, prisons, and crowns of dust. What you are is not mask, not role, not thought, not flesh, but the witness that cannot die. But now the Codex turns against you. Vision without discipline is treason. To see and yet to live as though blind is to strike your own soul deeper than any enemy could. For ignorance excuses, but awakened eyes condemn. The Codex asks you, what will you do now that you have seen? Will you go back to sleep, pretending you did not glimpse the abyss of awareness? To the masks you now know are illusions. The time for excuses is ended. You have been given vision. With it comes weight heavier than crowns of gold. You can no longer bow to shadows and say, I thought they were kings. You can no longer flee from fear and say, I was only human. For now you know fear is furnace, silence is throne, and presence is command. It does not promise ease. It demands allegiance to truth seen. Every mask you wear from this moment will scorch your flesh. Every false word will echo louder in your skull. Every retreat into blindness will become torment. There is no return. There is only forward. Engrave this into your marrow. He who conquers the inner tyrant becomes untouchable. He who bends to it remains slave, no matter his crown. So I ask you, reader of this scroll, will you turn away, pretending you have read only words? Or will you confess what you now know, that your soul has been summoned, that the eye within you has been opened, that you are without excuse? The Codex closes this scroll with no comfort, only fire. To see is to be responsible. To awaken is to carry the weight. To betray vision is to betray yourself. Choose, rise, or be broken. So it is carved in fire, so it shall endure.
Scroll 3. The architecture of the inner world. Verse X first full, the map of the psyche. The mind as layered mirror. The soul is not a single chamber. It is a palace of mirrors, halls within halls, each reflecting, each distorting, each concealing another behind it. Most men walk only in the outer corridor. They see the first reflection, mistake it for truth, and never realize there are deeper rooms. The Codex proclaims, the mind is layered mirror. Each layer reflects differently. The surface shows only masks. The second reveals desire. The third exposes fear. The fourth unveils memory. And beyond all these lies the chamber of stillness, where the mirror reflects not distortion, but essence. A parable is told. A traveler entered a hall of mirrors. At first he laughed, seeing himself tall, thin, grotesque. Then he grew troubled, for every step revealed another form, another self, another mask. At last he fell to his knees and whispered, "Which one is me?" An elder answered, "None and all. Each mirror shows a part, but only when you reach the deepest chamber will you see the face that does not change. So it is with the psyche. Thought reflects upon thought. Emotion reflects upon memory. Desire reflects upon fear, forever chasing masks, forever reacting to shadows. But the golden leader maps the layers. He learns which reflection is surface, which is root, which is illusion, which is truth. Understand this law. To know yourself, you must walk past the first mirrors. You must descend layer by layer until you reach the mirror that no longer distorts. This is the true map of the psyche, to pass through desire, through fear, through memory, into the chamber of essence. There, the mirror does not show masks, but only presence eternal. So the verse is sealed. The psyche is not chaos, but layered order. He who knows the map walks with clarity, while the crowd remains lost among reflections. So it is written, so it shall endure. Scroll 3. Frequencies of the human core. Verse XX. The waters of emotion, emotions as currents. Emotion is water. It flows, it floods, it crashes, it nourishes. It rises as storm, it falls as rain, it rests as still lake. Most men are swept away by its currents. They are pulled into rages they cannot master, drowned in griefs they cannot endure, carried by desires they cannot govern. But the Codex proclaims, emotion is not enemy. It is current. The wise do not fight the water. They learn to read it, to steer with it, to channel it. A parable is told. A man built his home beside a river. At first he rejoiced, for the waters fed his crops. But when the rains came, the river flooded, and his house was destroyed. He cursed the river, calling it cruel. Another man built his home by the same river. When the rains came, he guided the flood into channels, and the water turned his fields to gold. He blessed the river, calling it sacred. The river was neither cruel nor sacred. It simply was. So too with emotion, it destroys the blind, it empowers the wise. The Codex teaches, every emotion is a current. Fear is a rushing tide that can drown you, but when mastered, it sharpens your senses. Anger is fire upon the waves, but when directed, it becomes clarifying force. Grief is the deep ocean, crushing and endless, but when endured, it gives depth and compassion. Joy is the spring, bubbling and pure, nourishing all it touches. He who denies emotion dries into desert. He who drowns in it is swept into chaos. Understand this law. Emotion cannot be killed, only directed. It is the blood of the psyche, the pulse of the soul. To reject it is to wither. To obey it blindly is to be enslaved. To govern it is to walk as sovereign. The golden leader does not fear the flood. He digs channels within himself. He lets the water pass, but never be wasted. His grief becomes wisdom. His anger becomes strength. His joy becomes presence. His fear becomes vision. And because he governs the waters, his soul remains steady, even when oceans rage. So the verse is sealed. Emotion is water. It is storm and stillness, flood and spring. The wise do not curse it, nor drown in it. They guide its currents until it serves their crown. Thus flows the law of the waters, and no man may resist its current. Verse 30th, the fire of desire, desire as sacred fuel. Desire is fire. It warms, it drives, it burns, it consumes. Most men are slaves to its blaze. They chase every spark as if it were eternal flame, until they are left with ashes in their hands. They curse desire, calling it enemy, yet they never learn to tend it. But the Codex proclaims, desire is neither curse nor crown. It is raw fire, sacred fuel. Unshaped it destroys, but guided it creates. The forge of empires is desire disciplined. The birth of every vision, every art, every kingdom began as hunger within the heart. A parable is told. Two men carried fire. The first clutched it with bare hands. It scorched him. And in his pain he dropped it into the field, and the flames devoured everything. The second placed the fire into a lamp. He carried it carefully, and with it lit his home, lit the paths of travelers, lit the altar of the temple. The fire was the same. It was the bearer who determined whether it destroyed or illumined. So it is with desire. The blind chase it until they are consumed. The coward suppresses it until his spirit withers. But the wise discipline it into sacred fuel. They temper it with silence. They bind it with vision. They channel it into the path that leads upward. The golden leader does not extinguish desire. He kneels before it as one kneels before fire. He knows desire untended becomes addiction, but desire guided becomes destiny. He does not fear its blaze. He forges his will until it burns without consuming him. Understand this law. Your fire will burn something. It will either burn your discipline to ash, or it will burn your weakness to dust. The choice is yours. Thus the decree of fire is sealed. He who rules his desire makes it his servant. He who obeys his desire becomes its slave. Verse XX. The shadow of fear, fear as threshold guardian. Fear is the shadow that waits where the light ends. It is the first sentinel every soul must face. It has no sword, no spear, no chain, yet it has turned more men back from their destiny than death itself. It trembles your hand before you act. It hides behind every delay, every excuse, every compromise. It is the author of hesitation, the silent voice that convinces men to stay behind walls until they die in silence. They call their avoidance safety. They call their submission humility. But the Codex proclaims, fear is none of these. Fear is threshold. It is the dark veil between who you are and who you are called to become. Every great passage is guarded by it. When a child becomes a man, fear is there asking, do you dare to leave innocence behind? When a warrior enters battle, fear is there asking, do you truly wish to risk your blood for this cause? When a soul approaches death, not to forbid you, but to measure you. A parable is told. An initiate came to the cavern of initiation. At its mouth stood a vast shadow, towering, shapeless, eyes glowing red. The initiate trembled, his body screamed to turn back. 2 others had fled before him, never to return. Another had charged the shadow with sword in hand, and in exhaustion collapsed, defeated by illusions. But this initiate, though trembling, stepped forward slowly. He whispered, if you are real, you will consume me. If you are illusion, I will see it as I pass through. He walked into the shadow, and as he crossed, the phantom dissolved into mist. And beyond the cavern, he saw a light that no fear could ever extinguish. The fool attacks, and is broken by his own exhaustion. But the sovereign accepts the trembling, and steps forward anyway. And in that step fear bows, and the path beyond is revealed. Understand this law. Fear has only the power you grant it. It feeds on your retreat. But when you move through it, the golden leader does not waste his life trying to banish fear. He does not hide from it, nor drown in it. He bows only to its purpose, the crowning of presence. He knows fear is the final test before mastery. Thus the law is sealed. He who flees fear remains chained to the threshold. He who attacks fear becomes exhausted in illusion. He who passes through fear enters the inner sanctum, and fear itself becomes his servant. This is the decree of the threshold. The shadow is not your prison. It is your crown waiting in disguise. Verse X. The weight of grief. Grief as depth initiation. Grief is the stone placed upon the soul. It is the weight no man asks for, yet every man must one day bear. It is the collapse of all certainties, the silence after a voice is gone, the emptiness where once there was warmth. It is the taste of ash in the mouth, the sight of familiar places turned foreign, the feeling that time has fractured and will never again flow as it once did. Most flee grief. They drown it in noise, hide from it in labor, mask it with laughter that rings hollow. But grief is not fooled. It waits. It burrows into the marrow until it is faced. For the Codex proclaims, grief is not punishment. Grief is initiation. It is the passage into depths unknown. It is the descent every soul must make before it can ascend in truth. A parable is told. A mother wept for her child, who had for days she cursed the heavens, for nights she beat her breast. An elder came to her and said, "Go into the marketplace. Bring me a single grain of rice from a home untouched by grief, and I will restore your child." She searched from house to house. At every door she found sorrow, died. A father lost, a sister gone, a friend buried. By the time she returned, her hands were empty, but her heart was opened. The elder whispered, "You have not failed. No life is untouched by grief, but every life may be deepened by it. So it is with the golden leader. He does not despise grief, for he knows it is the chisel that shapes compassion. He does not rush to banish it, for he knows its endurance carves wisdom. Understand this mystery. Grief is a hollowing. At first these caverns seem only emptiness. The shallow flee grief and remain shallow, afraid to break, afraid to feel the abyss beneath. For only he who has drowned. Thus the Codex proclaims, grief is not curse but crown. It crushes so that it may expand, it wounds so that it may heal. It breaks so that it may reveal strength that cannot be taken. The golden leader walks scarred, yet his scars are lanterns. He carries emptiness, yet that emptiness overflows with depth. He has died in part, yet what remains is truer, steadier, wider than before. This is the decree of grief. It is the initiation into depth. He who bears it becomes vessel of compassion. He who endures it becomes stone that does not break. He who rises from it becomes sovereign in soul. Verse exexith. The sword of anger, anger as clarifier. Anger is the sword of the soul. It flashes sudden, burns hot, and can blind the eye with its brilliance. Most men are cut down by it, not by their enemies, but by their own hands. They lash out at those they love. They strike in haste. They speak in venom. And when the fire cools, they kneel among the ruins they themselves have made. So they call anger evil, a curse to be buried, a beast to be chained, as if fire extinguishes itself when denied air. But the Codex proclaims, anger is not curse. Anger is raw flame. It is neither demon nor angel, it is force. Force untamed is chaos. Force disciplined is law. Anger is the clarifier. The burning sword that cuts away illusion and reveals the marrow of truth. A parable is told. A king had 2 sons. One erupted in rage whenever challenged, scattering his soldiers, burning alliances, leaving ash in his wake. One was consumed by fire, the other corroded by it in secret. But a third son, trained by an elder, learned to temper his anger as swordsmith tempers steel. He learned to pause, to breathe, to hold. When insulted, he did not erupt. When betrayed, he did not collapse. But when injustice reared its head, when cruelty struck the innocent, he unsheathed his anger like a sharpened blade. Restored balance, and sheathed the sword once more. The elder said, "This is mastery, to carry fire without being burned, to wield anger without becoming its slave, though it is with the golden leader. The fool unleashes his wrath at every slight. The coward buries his anger until it poisons his blood. He carries anger as a disciplined warrior, carries sword, not always in hand, but always within reach, polished, sharpened, waiting for the right moment. Understand this law. Anger is clarifier. It reveals the boundaries of the soul. It exposes what cannot be tolerated. It is the flare that rises when justice is trampled, the flame that signals betrayal, the heat that warns when a man's essence is violated. It is the body's cry that truth is being mocked. Yet anger must not rule. A wild blow cuts through the very fabric of trust. The golden leader does not waste anger on petty quarrels, on insult, on vanity, on pride. He allows fools to burn themselves in their own flames. He allows mobs to exhaust themselves in their frenzy. When truth is defiled, when the weak are crushed beneath the strong, then his anger is unsheathed, and his strike, calm, sharp, inevitable, restores order with a weight that no one can ignore. The Codex proclaims, suppression breeds sickness, recklessness breeds ruin. But anger, harnessed anger, refined by silence, sharpened by patience, aligned with truth, becomes the sovereign's sword. One stroke, and the fog of deception is cut. One word, and the room falls silent. One act, and injustice is burned away. This is the hidden law of fire. It does not exist to consume you, but to remind you what is sacred. It is the flare of conscience. It is the declaration of the soul that something must change. The weak are mastered by it, but the sovereign masters it. And in his hand, anger becomes more than fire. It becomes lightning. It becomes judgment. It becomes clarity itself. This is the decree of fire sharpened. Anger undisciplined is ruin. Anger suppressed is poison. But anger mastered is justice, and the sovereign who wields it becomes the sword of truth in a lying world. Verse XXIV, the gift of joy, joy as alignment. Joy is not laughter. Joy is not fleeting pleasure, nor the brief sweetness that vanishes when night falls. Pleasure is spark, joy is sun. Pleasure is surface, joy is root. Pleasure distracts, joy aligns. The Codex proclaims, joy is resonance, the song of the soul when it vibrates in harmony with truth. Most mistake joy for indulgence. They chase after possessions, applause, indulgent comforts, believing that to fill the body is to satisfy the soul. But the belly empties, the applause fades, the pleasures sour. And still they hunger. For true joy is not taken, it is revealed. It is not hunted. It is uncovered when the inner world aligns with the eternal law. A parable is told, a traveler sought joy in many lands. In the city he bought jewels, in the taverns he drank wine, in the halls of power he gathered titles. But each time the light faded, and emptiness gnawed deeper than before. At last he stumbled upon a shepherd, singing alone at dawn as the sun rose over his flock. The song was simple, the voice untrained, yet it carried the purity of alignment. For the song had awakened the resonance he had always carried, but forgotten. So it is with the sovereign. Joy is his compass, for joy reveals alignment. When he speaks truth, joy vibrates within. When he betrays himself, joy withdraws. Thus joy is the subtle judge, not loud like anger, not heavy like grief, not frightening like fear, but quiet, radiant, steady. It does not demand, it does not scream. It simply shines when the path is right, and dims when the soul strays. Understand this law. Joy is strength. The warrior who fights without joy grows bitter. The leader who rules without joy becomes tyrant. But the one who aligns with joy gains inexhaustible power. For joy is fuel that does not burn out. It is not the fire of compulsion, nor the storm of passion, but the current of life itself, flowing unhindered. The golden leader does not chase joy. He creates the conditions for it to appear. Silence within, truth spoken without, service given freely, alignment honored at every step. He does not beg for happiness from the world. He radiates joy into the world. And because he radiates, grief deepens, anger clarifies, fear tests. But joy aligns. It binds the scattered fragments of the self into one song. It gathers body, mind, and spirit into a single frequency. It is the resonance by which the soul remembers its source. The Codex proclaims, the greatest leaders are not those who inspired obedience by fear, nor those who commanded respect by power, but those who carried joy as their crown. Their presence uplifted even the weary. Their laughter, unforced, restored trust in the hearts of men. Their steadiness reminded their people that even in storm, the sun would rise again. It is the hidden law of endurance. For sorrow may break a man, but joy makes him whole without them. It is the fruit of alignment. This is the decree of joy. It is not pleasure, not indulgence, not escape. It is alignment of soul with truth, the light that heals, for he lives already in harmony with eternity. The breath of soul, soul as rhythm. The soul breathes. not with lungs of flesh alone, but with the rhythm that underlies creation. Every inhale is birth, every exhale is death, and in their endless exchange, life itself is sustained. Most hear only the rasp of air within the chest, but the awakened hear the greater song, the inhale and exhale of the cosmos. The Codex proclaims, breath is the bridge between body and spirit, between time and eternity, between man and the infinite. Most live as captives of breath. They inhale shallowly, hurried by fear. They exhale carelessly, wasted by distraction. They move like men hunted, chased by clocks, crushed by urgency. And because their breath is broken, their soul is scattered. The mind trembles, the heart stumbles, and life feels like storm without anchor. To master rhythm is to master mind. And to master mind is to command the kingdom within. A disciple once came to his teacher crying, "I cannot still my mind. I cannot calm my heart." The teacher did not answer, but lit a candle. He placed a bowl of water beside it. The disciple stared in confusion. "Your mind is this water," said the teacher. "Every thought, every fear is ripple and storm." But watch what breath can do. The teacher inhaled slowly, exhaled steadily. The flame steadied, the ripples stilled, and the water became a mirror, reflecting the flame. Breathe until the storm lays itself down. Then the mirror will reveal the light already within you. So it is with the soul. Breath is the hand that steadies the vessel. When breath is ordered, life becomes order. Inhale, draw in life. The golden leader does not waste this gift. He breathes with awareness when others forget. He inhales courage in the face of fear. He exhales anger before it blinds him. He inhales silence in the midst of noise. He exhales compassion when others suffocate in grief. His breath becomes command, not shouted, but carried as resonance, felt in the hearts of those he leads. Understand this mystery. Breath is not only personal, it is cosmic. Stars are born in inhale and collapse in exhale. Oceans rise with inhale and fall with exhale. Even galaxies pulse with this hidden rhythm. The universe itself is breath, expanding, contracting, singing the eternal song of inhalation and release. To align with this rhythm is to no longer fear change. The Codex proclaims, the unawakened gasp, the awakened breathe, the sovereign commands his breath, and through it commands his soul. Each inhale aligns him with source. Each exhale frees him from chains. And in this endless rhythm, he learns the law no storm can break, that within the rise and fall of breath, he is carried by eternity itself. This is the decree of breath. To inhale with awareness is to live. Verse X Gexephithai. The crown of spirit, spirit governs the lower. Spirit is crown, not jewel, not metal, not ornament, but the invisible diadem that rests upon the soul when it has risen above body, mind, and emotion. It is the throne above thrones, the command tower of existence, the place from which true sovereignty begins. The Codex proclaims, without spirit enthroned, man is divided. Body pulls one way. Mind schemes another, emotions drag him down into floods and storms. He is scattered, broken, fragmented. A house with many rooms but no master within. He may appear alive, but inside he is ruled by shifting forces: hunger today, fear tomorrow, pride the next. Such a man is not sovereign. He is merely occupied ground. But when spirit rises and takes the throne, all else finds order. The body is still strong, but it obeys discipline. The mind is still quick, but it serves silence. The emotions still surge, but they flow as river guided by banks. What was storm becomes kingdom. For spirit alone has authority to bind all parts into one law. A parable is told. A chariot was pulled by 3 wild horses. The first lunged after food, the second raced toward battle. The third veered toward shadows. The charioteer fought with all his strength. Another charioteer climbed aboard the same steeds, and a crown of light appeared upon his head. He did not lash them. He did not chain them. He led them by presence, and they obeyed. The chariot carried him swiftly and safely to his destination. The horses were not destroyed, but governed. The golden leader understands this mystery. He does not despise the body, for it is temple and vessel. He does not despise the mind, for it is tool and architect. He does not despise the emotions, for they are rivers that nourish the soul. But he does not kneel to them. He enthrones spirit above them. And from that high seat he commands them all. Understand this law. When spirit is absent, the body becomes tyrant, seeking only comfort, lust, and survival. When spirit is absent, the mind becomes tyrant, trapping man in endless schemes, illusions, and lies. When spirit is absent, the emotions become tyrant, ruling him with storms of grief, waves of anger, chains of fear, intoxications of joy. But when spirit governs, each takes its rightful place. The body becomes servant of discipline, the mind becomes servant of wisdom, the emotions become servant of truth. And the man, once divided, becomes whole. The Codex proclaims, spirit is not escape from life. It is not withdrawal into clouds, nor disdain for flesh, thought, or passion. It is the axis of life, the point around which all else revolves. It is root and crown in one. When spirit rules, man is no longer slave of his parts. He becomes sovereign of his whole. Nor purchased with gold, nor forged by empire. The true crown is invisible. It endures longer than kingdoms. It cannot be stolen, for it is not worn on the head, but within. He who wears it may be stripped of wealth, driven into exile, mocked by crowds, betrayed by allies. Yet still he reigns. For the crown, within, cannot be touched by the world without. The golden leader does not seek the crown of men until he has secured the crown of spirit. For to rule others without ruling self is delusion. To wear jewels while empty inside is mockery. But to enthrone spirit within, this is sovereignty. And from such sovereignty flows presence, clarity, law, and light. Body may stumble, mind may falter, emotions may storm. But spirit enthroned governs all. He who enthrones spirit reigns even in chains. He who loses it is slave, even on a throne. Verse X first, the harmony of the three, psyche, emotion, soul as one field. Man is Trinity, psyche, emotion, soul, three forces woven into one being. Mind that thinks, heart that feels, spirit that breathes. Each alone is incomplete. Mind without heart becomes machine. Heart without mind becomes chaos. Spirit without both becomes exile, floating above the world but never shaping it. The Codex proclaims, the sovereign must unite the three, for only in harmony is wholeness found. Most lie fragmented. They think one way, feel another, act a third. Their mind speaks doubt while their heart cries out. Their spirit whispers truth, but it is drowned in noise. Thus they stumble, torn between voices, scattered across their own inner battlefield. They are divided kingdoms, besieged by themselves. A musician carried three instruments, a drum, a flute, and a lyre. Alone, each produced sound, but the drum was harsh, the flute thin, the lyre fragile. When the drum pulsed, the flute wove around it, and the lyre sang above them both, and the sound became music. Not noise, but harmony. It was the unity that gave them power. The golden leader learns this law. He does not silence emotion, but aligns it with truth. He does not flee spirit, but enthrones it above all. He brings the three into field, as general arranges his army. Mind is scout, heart is shield, spirit is commander. His being becomes unstoppable. Understand this. Psyche alone is clever, but empty. It builds towers without foundation, plans without loyalty, visions without breath. Emotion alone is fierce but blind. It rushes into storms, burns itself out, drowns the bearer in floods of passion. Spirit alone is radiant but distant. But without mind and heart, it cannot shape the temporal. Man becomes living temple. Spirit provides crown. They radiate presence that bends the world. The Codex proclaims, the harmony of the three is not accident but discipline. Thus every challenge is secret teacher, drawing the fragmented man toward wholeness. The golden leader carries this harmony wherever he walks. His gaze clarifies lies without effort. His silence heals grief without touch. This is the decree of harmony. The divided are broken by the world. The united stand above it. He who brings psyche, emotion, and soul into one field becomes music of eternity, and no discord can silence him. The seal of the heart. Heart as coherent center. The heart is the axis of man. It is the chamber at the very center where all forces converge. Psyche and thought, emotion and feeling, spirit and breath. Mind may plan, body may act, spirit may command. But if the heart is divided, all else collapses. It is the hearth of the inner kingdom, the temple in which the unseen flame is kept. The Codex proclaims, the heart is not sentiment. It is not fragile romance. The heart is law. It is the seal that binds body, mind, and spirit into coherence. Most neglect the heart. They worship the mind and call themselves rational. They chase the body's hunger and call themselves practical. They pursue visions of spirit and call themselves transcendent. Yet all three, left without heart, fall into imbalance. The mind becomes tyrant of cold schemes. The body becomes slave of appetite. The spirit becomes exile. Aloof and untethered, shining above, but never shaping below. Only the heart can bind them. Only the heart can weave their fragments into song. A parable is told. 3 kings ruled the same land, one with intellect, one with force, one with vision. The land fractured under their divided laws. The people starved, for no law endured long enough to bear fruit. Finally, a 4th king rose, not with sharper mind, stronger arm, or higher vision, but with heart coherent and steady. His presence united the others, not by conquest, but by resonance. And under his rule the land healed, for all powers found their place in his balance. The kingdom was not saved by sword or scheme, but by coherence of heart. So it is with the golden leader. He guards the chamber of his heart above all. He tends it as gardener tends sacred grove, pulling weeds of resentment, watering roots of compassion, pruning branches of pride. For he knows, a fractured heart fractures the man. A coherent heart unites him as living law. The Codex proclaims, the heart radiates. Its field extends beyond the body. This is the hidden law of command. Power may intimidate, but only the heart can align. And alignment is greater than persuasion. Thus the heart is not weakness. It is throne. It is temple. It is law. The golden leader wears 2 crowns, and the crown of heart within. And without the second, the first cannot endure. This is the decree of the seal. The heart is the hidden throne. When it is whole, the kingdom is whole. When it fractures, all collapses. Therefore guard it above all. For from it flows law eternal. And through it the sovereign becomes unshakable. Verse X. The parable of the broken vessel. A cracked jar pours sweetest water. Wholeness is prized by men. They seek flawless forms, perfect crowns, vessels without blemish. They imagine perfection is the mark of greatness. But the Codex proclaims, perfection unbroken is often barren. It is fracture that releases hidden sweetness. A parable is told. A woman carried 2 jars each morning to the well. The other was cracked, ashamed, weeping half its water along the path. The unbroken jar mocked the broken one, saying, "You are useless, for you cannot carry your fill. Do not grieve, vessel. I planted seeds along this road, knowing your cracks would water them. The whole jar brought water to my home, but you brought beauty to the world. So it is with the broken. Through their fracture, life flows to places the whole will never reach. Understand this law. Strength without fracture often becomes pride. Wholeness without wound often becomes sterile. The golden leader does not despise his scars. He does not hide his fractures behind masks of false strength. He wears them as testimony, for they are proof that he has been shattered and yet endures. And more, they are the very openings through which compassion flows. The leader who has never been broken cannot touch the hearts of the broken, but the one whose vessel is cracked becomes living fountain to all around him. A second parable is told. A king once ordered all his cups replaced with flawless gold. No stain, no crack, no imperfection was allowed. But when the feast came, the guests drank and remained unmoved. The wine seemed bitter, the hall felt empty. One guest, a traveller, carried a chipped clay cup, and they said the taste was sweeter than any they had known. The guest replied, "But clay, broken, humbles itself, and thus it blesses what it carries. So it is with the soul. The cracks that once seemed shame become openings for wisdom, compassion, and truth." The sovereign understands this. He does not seek to appear perfect, for perfection is idol that enslaves. He allows his humanity to be seen, not to glorify weakness, but to reveal the law. That fracture does not disqualify, it qualifies. That scar does not erase crown, it engraves it. Thus the broken vessel becomes sacred, for in its cracks we see the hidden covenant, that loss, pain, grief, and failure can become fountains of nourishment for others. That weakness, when borne with courage, becomes strength no force can counterfeit. That fracture, when honored, becomes seal of depth. This is the decree of the vessel. Better a cracked jar that waters the earth than a flawless jar that carries nothing beyond itself. He who hides his fractures remains barren. He who honors them becomes fountain, for the sweetest water is poured not from perfection, but from the vessel that has been broken and still gives. The inner seal, the heart, becomes unshakable law. The journey brings the initiate to one final chamber, the chamber of the heart. Not the trembling flesh that beats within the chest, but the eternal heart, the axis where body, mind, and spirit converge. This is the throne room within, the place where sovereignty is bound forever. The Codex proclaims all victories must be sealed. Strength without law becomes tyranny. So too with the initiate, if his path ends without seal, the storms of the world will scatter his gains. But when the heart becomes unshakable law, a parable is told. A city was built with towers of stone and walls of iron. Yet when the enemy struck, the gates collapsed, for their hinges had never been forged to endure. Another city had no towers, no iron walls, no wealth of stone, and no army could breach it. So it is with man. All crowns, all victories, all triumphs mean nothing if the heart itself is not sealed. The golden leader does not mistake seal for sentiment. It is not emotion's indulgence, nor fragile affection, nor fleeting warmth. The seal is coherence. The spirit obeys eternity, and the man once divided is one. His yes is eternal yes, his no is eternal no. His presence radiates stability where others falter. He becomes law embodied. The unsealed heart fractures in trial. When grief comes, it collapses. When anger strikes, it scatters. When joy tempts, it drifts. When fear storms, it breaks. But the sealed heart endures all. It bends, but does not break. It bleeds, but does not surrender. The Codex proclaims, the inner seal is not given by priest nor king. It is forged in silence, crowned by spirit, the initiate who has endured all. Thus, scroll 3rd closes in thunder. The broken vessel pours sweetest water. The storm bows to the depth. The initiate is confirmed before cosmos, and the heart, now sealed, becomes throne that cannot be toppled. From this seal flows presence, command, and crown. From this seal flows all future scrolls. This is the final decree of the scroll. The unsealed are scattered by trial. The sealed endure through eternity. He who seals his heart becomes law unshakable, and law unshakable becomes him. So the gate closes, and so the sovereign rises. Thus scroll the 3rd is sealed. You have walked the temple of the inner world. You have mapped the mirrors of the psyche, learned the currents of emotion, tempered the fire of desire, crossed fear's shadow, borne grief's weight, wielded anger as sword, aligned with joy, mastered the breath, enthroned spirit, sealed the heart. The Codex warns, mastery is not enough. To see the map and remain lost is cowardice. To feel the currents yet drown in them is betrayal. To hold fire yet burn yourself is folly. To face fear yet retreat is surrender. To taste grief yet grow bitter is decay. To carry anger without temper is ruin. To chase joy without alignment is emptiness. To breathe without awareness is slavery. To live without spirit is exile. To lead without heart is collapse. Understand this. Sovereignty is not gift, it is conquest. The crown of spirit cannot be stolen, but it can be forsaken. The seal of the heart cannot be broken, but it can remain unmade. No priest, no king, no empire can forge it for you. You must carve it in silence, temper it in fire, engrave it in scars, polish it in patience, and defend it against every storm. The challenge is before you. Will you remain prisoner of waves? Or will you anchor in depth? Will you curse your cracks? Or will you let them water the earth? Will you kneel before fear? Or will you walk through its phantom until it dissolves? Will you run from grief? Or will you let it hollow you into vessel vast enough to carry others? Will you remain divided, mind against heart, spirit against flesh? Or will you seal them into one law, one rhythm, one presence unshakable? The Codex declares, "He who seals the inner temple rules all outer kingdoms, for no storm can topple what is enthroned within. But he who neglects it remains slave, even crowned in gold." Engrave this vow into your marrow. I rule myself first. My silence is my fortress. My presence is my crown. My scars are my forge. My heart is my flame. I am unshakable.